Hello, my name is Meredith. I am a writer and recently have encountered a bit of a roadblock with writing. And today I'm going to walk you through a process that I came up with to push through it. And basically, the issue is that I do not have motivation to work on my book. I'm just not prioritizing it. And so I need to fix whatever is happening in my brain. Not to mention, it is the 7th of July when I'm filming this video. Like, Camp Nano is in full swing, and I have a goal of editing 20 chapters, and I have edited one. I've almost completely used up all of my leeway days, and that is unacceptable because I will need to take more in the future. So I've come up with a 7-step plan for getting myself motivated about writing again and getting myself back into a daily habit. So if you're struggling with motivation or you're having trouble writing your book every day, let's go through this together and see if we can fix this. So for the first few steps, I'm going to do it in this journal. Also, I'm mostly going to do it like talking to the camera. And so that's going to help me process. And so for you, if you're following along, you can get out a journal and write down these things as they come to mind. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is basically target the issue and figure out what's wrong. So step one is that I'm going to think of all the reasons why my motivation is low and what could be causing the problem. This is going to be more surface level stuff. The next question is going to target kind of those like deeper, more psychological issues. And so we'll get there. But for now, the things that are on the top of my head for this question are like, number one, I got out of the habit of it. I didn't do it for like 2 months. So I'm definitely feeling like my brain's being lazy and I'm not wanting to get back into that habit. Another reason is that I have gotten really into reading books, and the excitement and joy that I get from that has just really skyrocketed. But again, reading's not my priority, and I can always do that on the side. That should not be taking up the bulk of my work time. And then I think probably my biggest issue is that I'm prioritizing other things, like doing social media and making sure that I have videos ready for Reels or for YouTube or whatever. And there are other author things and projects that I'm working on, and also books that I'm annotating or books that I'm reading for other people that I'm annotating and thinking through carefully. And so these things take up a lot of time, prioritizing other things that are like writing author adjacent. Okay, those are my main issues. Take a moment to journal what your main external issues are with why you're feeling demotivated or not prioritizing your book. Okay, step two, we're still targeting the issue, and this is going to go a little bit deeper. So I am going to take a moment and journal out basically some reasons that may be more like psychological or deep seated for why I may not be motivated. And things that I'm thinking about are things like burnout, if you have a writing block, if you have a creative block, if there's something wrong with your book that you're just not feeling like you have the motivation to push through. Think about what really the issue is there and how emotionally that's stopping you from wanting to work on your book. Another thing I'm going to think about is like life issues that may be stopping me from being able to concentrate on my book, maybe that are distracting me. I know I was just super busy at the end of June. That was really, really distracting from these things. It was a good distraction. It was like good life things, but also I just didn't have time to really like deep work. The other two things I'm going to think about are comparison and imposter syndrome, and those kind of go hand in hand, right? If I'm looking at another author, that can be really discouraging because I'm comparing and thinking like, well, why can't I have that fast of a turnaround? Like, why does it take me so long to think through these things? Why do parts of my book still feel flimsy? Those types of thoughts definitely are very, very discouraging and can overall just drop my motivation. So I'm going to process those things, kind of clear those thoughts out. And once I do that, we're going to move on to step three, which is a little bit more productive. So let's go for this. Okay, I journaled out step two, the deeper seated things that are psychologically stopping me. And I definitely think that part of what's going on probably is some like anxious thoughts or just worry about things that is very distracting. So I feel like identifying those things is good because then once you identify them, you can try to eliminate them or at least find ways to work around them. Okay, step number three, let's examine the process itself and the mechanics of what I'm doing and see if something in the process isn't working or could be improved. Because sometimes it can be process related, right? Like sometimes you could be trying to plot when you're more of a pantser and you need to do like narrative plotting and then leave most of the details for as you're writing. Like that may be your fix is changing your process. But some people may have the process down and may not need to change the process, and the pure motivation is really the issue. So let's figure that out. Part of why this editing round is going so slow is because I am trying to do like 5 different levels of editing all together in one chapter and basically just make this one chapter great so that when I leave it behind, it's ready for someone to read. And possibly the book's just not at that level where it is ready for someone to read yet. And so that's definitely a possibility. there could be something wrong with my process now that I'm talking it out. And this is why I decided to do this video, was so that maybe I could find an issue. The problem is I don't really want to change my process. And it's not that I'm happy with it necessarily, it's just that I think this is the most expedient way to do it. But also, if I'm not doing it at all, then it is surely not the best way to be doing it. My options are to do 2 editing rounds, make sure all the developmental and medium level edits are good, and then come back around and do a line edit and deep point of view edit. That is a possibility. If I am not solidly getting in 1 chapter per day in the next week, then I think I may try this split approach and do 2 more editing rounds, which just sounds obnoxious to me. Like, I was supposed to have this off to alphas like in April. However, what needs to be done must be done. But first, I want to see if I can fix the motivation flaw and get through it. Okay, now let's get into the fun part of this process, which is improving the system. So clearly something in my system isn't working, and so I need to identify those issues and then fix them. At this stage, step 4, this is the actionable step. This is what are we going to do to make changes so that either in the process or just in my thinking patterns, I can improve things, get my motivation higher, and actually get work done. So if my main problems are not prioritizing it, are being lazy, and also just feeling like it's so much activation energy, it's so much work to get into it that I just avoid it, then we need to think of solutions to counter those issues. One of my biggest issues is I shove off the writing until the evening when I am too tired to do it. And I kind of know I'm doing that. And when I get to that place, which I've been many, many times, what I need to do is to work in the morning, which I can do, but that takes a little bit of discipline that I wasn't really feeling lately. So, my biggest step to fix a motivation issue, which is usually always what I need to do, is just to work in the morning because I get fantastic, amazing deep work sessions in the morning. Okay, next thing I need is a deadline. So, Camp NaNoWriMo is the perfect time and place to set a deadline. It's not overwhelming at this point. I just need to do 1 chapter a day, pretty simple stuff. Accountability. This is huge, right? Because if you set a deadline for yourself, and you don't tell anybody and then you pass the deadline, you can just say, well, I was stressed and so I didn't meet it. Boo hoo, move on. But if you have an accountability partner, that's really going to help. And so for me, this video is my accountability because basically, if I say this and then I don't end up meeting it, it's not really going to affect anybody, but it'll be publicly embarrassing. So I will attempt to do it more because I've said that I'm going to. And I think that's a good thing. That social pressure actually really can be a very motivating force. Whatever it takes, you know? Okay, the biggest issue that I think we're going to face with this, even beyond getting up early in the morning, is to move other priorities. I'm prioritizing doing social media stuff. But I'm like, what is the point of social media if I am not doing the thing that is actually exciting and kind of soul fulfilling to me, right? Like, social media is draining. The problem, I think, is that the social media is just easier to approach. It's just like a lower barrier. So, what am I going to do in order to deprioritize those goals? Well, I think probably what I should do is lower my quota of content output, which would probably just be smart in general for like general life burnout. So, I'll probably do that. And like I already said, I'm unfortunately going to have to deprioritize reading, which really sucks. So, I'm still going to be reading a book a week, but maybe not 2 or 3. And then, like I was saying about kind of the satisfaction of doing social media goals rather than writing goals, because they're fun to check off and you can like very easily see, oh, this is something accomplished that was like an actual step forward and now that's done and I don't have to do it again. Writing a book is not that way, right? It just never ends. Like, you never quite check anything off. And so I think what needs to happen here is we need to set mini goals. And for anybody experiencing demotivation, I feel like this is just a very general good step for you to take, is to set mini goals, because that sense of satisfaction is going to pull you along. So figuring out ways to make writing progress feel satisfying is probably an important thing if you're demotivated. Okay, those are all the ways that I'm going to fix my system that has some flaws in it and needs a little bit of a revamp. So take some time and journal out a bullet pointed list or a numbered list of things that you can actively do starting today to fix your process. Even if those things don't fix your motivation right off the bat, what they're going to do is they're going to get you writing. And then once you form that habit, that motivation is going to come. Okay, step 5 is basically to encourage yourself. So I'm going to take a second and look on the bright side here. And this may seem pointless, but it's really not, because the thing about writing is it's all belief. Like, it's all, do I actually believe that I have the ability to do this? Do I believe in this story? Do I believe that I have a story to tell? Even if it's not there yet, like, Do I see it there? Do I believe that it will be there? And if you don't believe that, then you're not going to end up actually finishing this project. So you need to believe that. And you can journal this, but I'm going to take a second and just say a couple of these things that are actually really encouraging about my project. Okay, number one, I'm not having a creative block. I'm feeling pretty confident about a lot of the things. Most things, I'm like, hey, this looks like it may be actually coming together. And when I sit down to work on it, I get really excited about it. I'm excited about the characters, I'm excited about the story. When I actually spend time on it, like I do find myself getting inspired, so there's not like a lack of interest there. And yes, like the end goal, the final goal is very far away still, and that is sometimes hard to look at, but also the chapters I have written have turned out really well, and I am excited for people to read those. And so I know that this is going to work. I just need to do it. So those are my few words of encouragement to myself about my project. Step 6 is take action. Initiate a part of your plan that is going to result in actually getting writing done today. So for me, I work in deep work sessions. I don't do well with sprinting, but if you're a sprinter, log an hour and a half of time and set up some writing sprints and sit down and do those writing sprints. For me, what I decided is that I need to spend time with this book. I need to give it a chance to kind of reach out and pull me in. So I'm going to set aside 3 hours today in a row where I have nothing pressing to do, where I can sit down and actually let this book pull me back in. This is a large chunk of time, but I think I need it in order to kind of kick this all off. And I'm going to go do that right this minute. So, whatever your step 6, take action step is, go do that. It is actually 3 hours later. I started the timer at 2:30, and right at the 5:30 mark, I finished my final read through of chapter 4, and I was like, this is great. So essentially what I'm saying is that that deep work session I just had was like insanely fulfilling, crazy productive. You just have to spend time with this stuff. I think I'm gonna go on and edit the next chapter because it's kind of a continuous event, and I just am really into it, and I wanna make the rest of it better. So that's step 6. So now step 7, the final step, is basically consistency. Is okay, let's keep up these changes. So let's keep writing in the morning. Let's keep having deep work sessions. For me, if you're a sprinter, do your sprints. Let's keep prioritizing this over all the other things that are good but not as important as this. And so I can't comment on step 7 and the success of it in this video because consistency takes time, but I am hoping that I can vlog from here on and be able to come back with a report saying, yes, my motivation is high. I like my book. This is working. And now that I have accountability with putting this out there, I think it's gonna work. Okay, I had a great and very, very productive and motivated day today. If you're demotivated with your book, try these 7 steps. And the thing about this is I think just actually doing these things, even if you've thought about these things before, but like actually doing it is different. And so try it. Thanks so much for watching me go through this process myself and try to find the motivation to keep working on this book, even though I like it, but it's just hard sometimes. And every writer knows that and gets bogged down in all of these kinds of things from time to time. If you're in that situation, you can get past it, you can pick up your motivation and keep writing. Let me know how you're doing in your writing projects down below in the comments, and also like this video if you found it useful or motivational. Subscribe to see more writing content from me, and also check out my Fiverr linked below if you're interested in me developmentally critiquing your book or giving you book coaching. Happy writing and getting past writing slumps. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.